friends, and a pleasant good evening to you here. We are Lions Live on the Trevor Lions Network, the only network built by the players through the fans. We are not a podcast. This program is not pre-recorded. We are former players here from Penn State. We got the one and only The H. We've got Dr. Big Dude, Stephen Davis. My name is Skip Bravos. We're talking Penn State football. And by the way, this program is open to any and all former players, coaches, and managers who'd like to come on here and talk and share Penn State football. We've been doing it here for a long time ourselves, but it's always open to anybody. Your comments and questions and things are always welcome to us. Send them on in here on Facebook and let us know if you guys want to get on at any time, as well as anybody else. Or if you'd like to give comments or questions, we're always happy to answer them. So great to be back here, guys. It's been a week of Penn State in hibernation. I'm sure they've been working hard. Now it's the bye week, is what people call it, and several teams haven't won, but Penn State's on theirs right now. And guys, what do you think happened here this past week with Penn State? How do you think the week would play out?
Well, I mean, if y'all don't mind me starting off, I think that there was a lot of work done from what I understand. Actually, the bye weeks with Coach Franklin, from all the different podcasts I saw, people were rated as not the best because I think his record was like maybe 2-5 after bye weeks or something. I don't know where exactly, what shows talked about that, but everybody has their own idea about it. My understanding is Coach added in another practice where they would have had off a day, but I think you're going to see a kind of a combination of some hard work and some fresh legs, and hopefully getting some people back. We had some injuries. The wide receiver, Lambert Smith, number one, it has not been announced whether he will be back this week. Lambert Smith has been a very good receiver. Like I said, they haven't had one dominant receiver. I think everybody thought it was going to be Parker Washington. And I think pleasantly, surprisingly so, we've had a number of wideouts that do their part and stretching the field, as well as their tight ends and their running backs out the backfield. So it looks like there's a multiple faceted approach, I'm sure, this week to beating Michigan. And I think that when we start to take a look at it, we know Michigan had, a competitive game for the first half last week, 131-10 over Indiana. And we'll see how good Michigan is. And I'll leave it to H to say whatever else opening he'd like to say.
The key to this game coming up now is going to be quarterback and quarterback play.
Yeah.
That's where the leadership is going to begin and end with this big game. He's seasoned. He's been around, and he has seen the foe multiple times during his career. And the younger guys, the rest of the team, this is a big game. This is a pivotal game, if you will. We've been tested, but I would say not at the level that is coming up. And so the quarterback is going to have to be dotting I's and crossing T's all the way. If he has a strong game, and by a strong game, I mean a consistent game, a consistent leadership, hitting the passes, holding on to the ball, and not turning it over, then that is going to be the key to whether or not we win or lose. We're going to play a tough game. We got a good team, good solid team, and we've shown that. But the key to winning or losing is going to be the quarterback position, because that's what's going to lead the charge. I have a feeling that this is going to be a pretty good scoring game. I don't think that either defense really is strong enough to keep it low scoring, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And when I say scoring, I'm talking about I'm talking about 20 points or better.
Gotcha.
I'm not necessarily talking about a shootout, 48-51 or something like that. But I'm certainly not talking, 17-7, a 14-7 kind of game.
I think the teams are pretty well matched up. However, tell you, I think if where I see opportunity is for our run game, we have to establish a run game with Michigan. But I'll tell you where I think our weakness is, and I think that's when you look at the pass yards allowed, we've given up about 100 more than Michigan has. So our pass defense is really going to have to step up against Michigan in this game. So you're right, H. The quarterback's going to play an important role throwing accurate passes for Penn State, but on the Michigan side too, we really need to put the pressure on the quarterback because our backs are going to need the ability to be able to make sure we can have some good coverage and not give up the yards that we have been in the past. But overall, though, it's a great matchup. I mean, both teams undefeated here. You know, both teams have played some of their easy games, and they've each had a couple harder games. They've been closer here, but they beat Iowa, and they beat Indiana here last week, and Penn State, as far as in the Big Ten, has only played one team with Northwestern. So, one thing we can't have happening is the turnovers. Most teams that give up 5 turnovers will never win a football game. And if we can hold on to the football, I don't know if the weather's supposed to be out there in Michigan this weekend, but we got to hold the football, whether running it or passing. We can't have turnovers.
Yep, and I think agreed. But I say to Skip, I could say on one end, some people can take a look at that 100-yard difference, which technically, to tell you the truth, most of those catches and all, we give people yards and catches. Not too many folks are able to make big plays on us. I think that's what it's really going to be about this week, not letting them make big plays. And I agree with H to a certain part about the quarterbacking play, but we all are at different positions. And I say their all-world offensive line, I keep hearing about it every week. And as Joe would say, I'm tired of hearing about that offensive line. I am. I mean, because ours is, we've got to believe that we're just as good and we can help the quarterback play out by doing what they can do. Now, last week, it looks like, speaking of quarterback play, J.J. McCarthy, their current starting quarterback, number 9, 28 for 36 for 304 yards, 3 touchdowns and an interception in a 31-10 win over Indiana. But then we also take a look at running the ball. Blake Corum, the all-world running back, who everybody believes is going to be up for Heisman or going to be up for one of these top awards, 25 carries, 124 yards. That's 5 yards a carry and a touchdown. And only other person that carried the ball was the quarterback, 4 for 26. And then Donovan Edwards, number 7 for 15. And then Alex Orji, 1 carry for 3 yards. So it's going to be interesting to see who can establish the line of scrimmage to help out the quarterback play. I would say the quarterback play is going to be important. My issue is going to be are the quarterbacks. I think the one who makes it less difficult and just concentrates on what you have, I think is going to be important in this game. With Sean Clifford, it's going to be relying on all the folks around you and doing some things, as H did mention. He's going to have to be smart. He's not going to have to take any big hits in this particular game. He's got to be smart. Slide, Sean, slide. And I think that he doesn't need to be spectacular, but he needs to make the throws that he's supposed to make and to be consistent. Hit that crossing pattern that they need to hit. And trying to make sure that we have our tight end ready to go is going to be important as well. Our tight ends, our offensive tackles. Everybody said that our offensive line was last in the Big Ten, but all of a sudden we're running the ball, and all of a sudden we're giving people options to pass or run or do the RPO type of thing. So how we execute RPOs and how we defend against it this week is going to be important. But we need to do what we can to take Blake Corum, the running game, away. I'm not as concerned about Michigan now. You know, one of the things that Joe used to tell us as well is that you're going to get licked. So somebody's going to get licked on Saturday. The question is, can we do more than them? And I don't believe it's going to be a high scoring game, but I'll tell you what I believe later in terms of a prediction and the type of game it's going to be, and where it's going to end. But I would say, Skip, I would say the pass defense, we start talking about is a weakness. Nobody clearly wants to throw at Joey Porter Jr. So I would say the only way that Michigan can be anywhere near ahead of us is no one will throw at Joey Porter Jr. And they better not this week. If they do, I think they'll find out just how good that young man is this week. And it's going to be not just him making plays, but him and Brown and that entire secondary, Wheatley, Zakee Wheatley, all those folks in the secondary are going to have to be leaders. And any type of package that we have on the field, I think it's going to all have to be responsible for communicating, playing their gaps, and shutting down this running game, and then coming up with a big play. But letting them control the line of scrimmage is where we go down. If our offensive line has to win those battles against their defensive line as well, even though they defensive linemen last year that are in the NFL starting. And you come up and number 9.
So, game is going to be won and lost in the trenches. The game is going to be won or lost in the trenches. Sure. There's no two ways about it. Yeah, that's ultimately where it comes from. There's no pass defense like a pass rush. So it's going to be won in the trenches. But I still say that our quarterback has to have a steady game, no mistakes. He's got to play a mistake-free game.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we start to take a look at, and I'll cut myself off, Steve. I'm sorry. Just wanted to mention, like I said, when we start talking about mistake-free, their quarterback McCarthy, and I have down here is more than 70% accurate on his passes. In fact, I just saw for sure it sounds like it's 78%, which I've never heard of a percentage that big going into the 6th game. So you have a whole lot of different things out here. You had a good Maryland team that had a chance to beat them, but we saw that Maryland made mistakes and basically gave the game away on some of those mistakes that H is talking about. And Skip, you were going to say?
Well, I was just saying that the chink in our armor, and I think you touched on it too, H. You have to put the pass rush on Michigan's quarterback because you can't give him that time to pass. Yes, I'm not saying we do have great D-backs, but you give anybody enough time, they're going to find somebody open. And that's the problem if we have a chink in our armor on defense, that's the only possible chink I could see. We got a great defense, don't get me wrong. But if that guy has time to pass, we are going to be in trouble.
Yeah. We have to get after it. There's no two ways about it. We got to rattle that guy and rattle him early.
Right on.
As you point out, Doctor, with that kind of accuracy, that is very uncommon.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get after that guy, rattle his cage, and get after him early.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, H, here's a question I have: Are you still good with the way we're playing it? I mean, should we use 7 defensive backs in the package? Or is that something that do we find out how good the quarterback is, or do we pick our spots where we have 7 people in and we're being more aggressive with our play, with stretching that defensive play out, or is this the game that we don't do that we have to, be conservative and make sure we make the tackle rather than let's test to see what type of a game breakers they have? Because I haven't seen a whole lot of game breaking from Michigan, to be honest with you. Their players, Bell, number 8, who's been their best wideout for the last 3 years since he hurt his knee a couple of years ago. He's been a very good player, but he's not anybody seems to be afraid of anymore. I mean, what do you think about this particular game? Do we do we let them take a chance at getting a shot at us, or do we stick what we've been doing, or do we play this game differently when you have a guy that you know is going to get the ball more than 20 times a game, but you have an accurate quarterback? Is there an adjustment we make on the defense, or do we just do what we've been doing?
All right, listen, out of respect to you, the audience, and everybody, I'm going to come online and give some perspective, I guess, where I
Okay.
believe the game should head. And to me, the game should head. It's time for the kind of adjustment, and you see little bits and pieces of it coming about. If you make a study of the game, you will see that the linebackers are getting faster and more lean as they get bigger.
Yes.
You have defensive backs and you have secondary people who can actually move up and play in linebacker positions. I have been a proponent for many years that what probably needs to happen, that we may need to play the game with 11 defensive back positions.
Wow.
So never, at any given time, you never know who's coming and who's covering.
Gotcha.
And that will frustrate any offensive coordinator and any offense. It would be a change that would be as nuanced as when teams were running what was known as the then run and shoot at the professional level.
Right.
It will be that nuanced. Make the team adjust to that. Now, is that kind of change, and this is why I say it's a multifaceted answer to the scenario that you play out, is that kind of an adjustment necessary and important for this game and to defend this team? No. You stay within your system.
Right.
I believe wholeheartedly that there is some systemic adjustments that can be made, and nothing major. By no means there should be nothing major, but you do have to adjust to your opposition. And right now, this opposition, they got a good game. Good. Keep them on the ground because they have a good passer. And they have a good passer and a good passing game. Nothing can break down a team but a big offensive play throwing the ball. The running plays may happen, but if you keep them pounding away 24 times and keep it on the ground, as opposed to exploiting the air, that's the better situation. That is the better situation to rattle that quarterback and go ahead and let them ground and pound it away and whatnot. That's where the offensive and the mistake-free game on the offensive side of the ball will give us the victory. But you let that team do both and come out to you with a balanced attack without defending it, we got a problem. So whatever adjustment needs to be made, yes, whether it's 7 defensive backs or whatever the case is, because 7 defensive backs, you can blitz and you can rattle the quarterback just the same as you can playing with 4 or 5. So whether it's the 7 defensive backs that allow that package to get after the quarterback, or the standard defense that allows for some variations, maybe some blitzes, some chance blitzes and things like that to rattle that quarterback. That's the way I see this game playing out to ensure victory for us. Don't let me forget in case somebody joined us late.
Right.
Mistake-free offensive quarterback play.
Gotcha.
Yeah, H, let me dovetail on that. I think one thing that can help Penn State quite a bit is if they can disguise the coverage without tipping that they are actually in a different cover, because it's really easy for guys to want to cheat because they know they're supposed to be in disguise, but they're not, and they're cheating on it. And I hope this past week they've been really watching the coverage that they're showing and running, because I think if they can disguise it, and they will do really well if they can disguise coverages.
Yeah, I agree. Nice point. Every now and then there's got to be a little acting going on. To force the quarterback into an audible to change the play because he thinks that an unsuspecting blitz is coming, and you could toy with the quarterback into when I say toy, don't cancel me. You can fake, or you can, seduce. Oh, maybe that's the wrong word too. Hold on. You can kind of
No,
lure.
you're
Maybe
good.
that's
You're
the
good,
better
man.
We get it.
Good.
We get it.
Oh, okay, thanks. I get worried about, my word choice sometimes. You can
No.
lure a quarterback on offense into, changing a play or an audible based on disguises and things like that. So yeah, that's a good point, Skip, and a precise point, an accurate point with regard to rattling that quarterback, because that quarterback is steady. 80%, as Doc pointed out, 80%. That's pretty good. That's mistake free. We got to get him into making mistakes, rushing, things like that. We get 2 interceptions, we win.
Sure.
Right.
Having this extra week to prepare, I just give my thoughts on this. I think if they really emphasize disguising coverages, and in the film room, spending the time there showing them, hey, look, here's what you were showing, but look, you came up, you gave it away, you cheated, you're 2 steps up in the sky we should. You got to fine tune it so that they really are in position to give the coverage that they're showing, and then they execute differently. That's what I think will really throw off the Michigan quarterback. And then he'll see something, he may try to change it, and you run something different at him, and that it really disrupts your play.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
He sounds like he might have been sitting in their meeting rooms. Skip, do you have a heads up that we don't? Have you been sitting in those meeting rooms, Skip?
I know. I wouldn't be surprised.
Hey, you'd be surprised at us kickers what we pay attention to over the years.
Good for you, Skip. You're a true student of the game.
Yes,
always been. I wasn't always a kicker,
That's right, man. Well, when I found out you were a catcher, that explained it for me.
Well, that's a baseball, but yeah, no, growing up, I was a running back and linebacker and played all those fun positions, forward, quarterback, all that kind of fun stuff, 7th grade and on up till you find your niche in the game,
Right, absolutely. So, I mean, for Penn State, and I think the biggest thing here is, I think we're in a little bit better. We've had some competitive games. I know people can say what they want about the last game, but Michigan's only played, from what I saw, only one competitive game, and that was a game against Maryland. There were no other games they played that were competitive games. So
right.
I'm not so sure they know about themselves, and I know that Indiana just didn't have the depth to stay with them. It was 10-10 going all the way into halftime, so it looked like Indiana had a shot, and then they got spanked in the second half. But for Penn State, they certainly, after Skip, you did mention it, by the 5 turnovers. Last a couple of weeks ago, we had against Northwestern, and how that's not going to work. And we realized, and like I said, I am proud of Coach for not making any excuses, because we have to take care of the football, no turnovers. We have to run the ball even better than we've been running it, and I think we can. Although again, both running backs, again, freshman running backs, with 20 carries the ball for 21 yards, 21 carries for 86 yards. 21 carries for 87 yards. That's absolutely incredible. And unfortunately, I know Penn State did lose Devin Ford, who has, left the team. Then they're going to let him just focus on academics the rest of the time. I think that he was looking forward to at least trying to have a shot at doing some things. And I think it's a big loss, because he's a guy. He doesn't have the breakaway speed, but he's able to do a lot of things that people aren't able to do with pass blocking and just making sure the offense is run properly. You got to have people in there that know what they're doing, and of course they have to start getting the ball even more to a guy like Parker Washington. I think Parker Washington, number 3, is a guy that we need to get going, and we need to get him in open space. Everybody on every podcast and everything else said we don't have the breakaway speed, which I don't think that's even true. I think that we have so many wide receivers, it's hard to fit them all in there. But I think you're going to see that. No, you don't have as many people as we've had before that have the killer speed. Speed kills. And I hope I don't get in trouble for that. You know, a lot of people
Yeah, yeah,
running
you better be
4-3.
careful.
Yeah, that's right. And then of course the O-line, we got to double team a lot. You know, those guys that are up front. That's how you find out how good you are. The other defense is. You know, double team doesn't mean everything, but it means something if you could wear them down. Um, so, uh,
Doctor, your analysis is so spot on. It is like flawless and incredible.
oh wow,
I mean,
I've never been called
yeah.
flawless. I appreciate it.
Well, I just think it's very poignant and very to the point. Even on down to the analysis of speed. This is not a track meet. You know, speed is so highly overrated, and
Right.
you know that's coming from a guy who who didn't have the best speed. You know, you give me people that know where they're supposed to be and when they're supposed to be there, and that's what's going to be critical. You know, I used to say, you know, you put me up with a guy who's fast, he's going to take 2 steps in the wrong direction, and we're going to arrive at where we're supposed to be at the same time, and maybe me slightly ahead of him if he takes us 2.5 steps in the wrong direction.
Right.
And so all the speed in the world doesn't replace discipline. And you know, dipping into Skip's point about the discipline to, you know where you're supposed to be, but also being able to tip off or fake or lure into believing that, you know, where you're supposed to be is not where you're going to be. And,
Right.
you know, those little subtleties and the knowledge of the game and is what's important. And that is being in the film room saying, hey, listen, you see how you're lined up here? They can tell that you're blitzing because where you're supposed to be 2-by-2 or 3-by-3, you are cheating up. You are giving it off. You're tipping the coverage because those are the pre-snap reads that every quarterback goes through. You know, what does the pre-snaps look? What coverage does it look like?
Right.
So you disguise that. You make it look like something else than what it is or going to be at the snap of the ball, and you have changed the play.
Got you. Well, I started to hear and I've started to listen to some of the NFL games and watch it. And now, of course, they have the mics on the field. I don't know if they had that as much when you played, but, you know, I hear a lot of quarterbacks yelling out. It looks like everybody.
Hey.
I'm
old.
sorry. Did I say something
I'm
wrong?
old. Wait a minute. Whoa. You're trying to. And no, I'm just. Go ahead. I didn't mean to do that to you.
No.
You
Well,
come out of there when
I
you
remember
played.
it just started to come into it, but I hear people coming out yelling cover zero. So am I to to believe that, boy, everybody's just going to take their chances with cover zero at certain parts of the field? I thought you only did that inside the 10-yard line or inside the red zone. You know, and I think Penn State has like an average of about 80% in the red zone of some type of score. You know, and they've given up less than less than 60 or something like that. So it's not too bad when you start taking a look at what you're doing on defense. But it's going to be interesting to see what adjustments that Sean makes on these cover zeros as we did with Purdue. He figured it out against Purdue. The question will be is now with Michigan, who has better players, how will he adjust to all those different things now? But I think this is also going to be a game where you got to use the tight ends, you know, and you got to use the tight ends to also stretch the field. You know, a lot of people didn't think that the tight end we had, as I told you, that can stretch the field. You know, he can do both. He can block. He can stretch the field. He's got great hands, and the safety's got to be able to cover it, but may not be able to tackle him. That's the dilemma. We've got to put them in there so they're respected because Michigan's going to try to load the blocks and take their chances, and I think people do that more at home. And of course, Skip, you mentioned the kicking game. You know, it's going to be interesting to see if we can keep things going. Who I think the front runner of the Ray Guy Award, Barney Moore, can continue to do. You know, if you got, I think he has about 14 balls that have landed inside the 10-yard line. That's an incredible season for any types of punter. And of course, looking at the kicker, some people said they weren't as secure about the kicking game, but I think all we can do is find out how good the kicking game is going to be. And not just from a standpoint of kicking, but special teams. Is there anybody else beside Parker Washington that can make a big play on kick return? If something happens and they happen to do a short kick, I know I used to think, I never knew that you were in sometimes on you're the short man on a kickoff return. I mean, punt return, so, and I forgot who we played.
Well, that's probably because I played quarterback in high school that, they had me, on the punt team. Plus, it had to do with the fact that I was recruited by the guy who was in charge of the punt team. So that's probably why he
was that Scrap at the time?
No. Yeah, as you so eloquently put it, Scrap wasn't around. Scrap was not even a coach when I played.
Okay. Right. Well, like I said, I'm looking at just, who else is able to make big plays. I mean, the people that are going to, and again, it's easy for me to say, but those opportunities we have for interceptions and fumble recoveries, we only have a few there, and we have to get those particular balls, to take them back to the house. And then we can't panic if Michigan does make a big play. They may make a big play, and got to realize that's part of football. I mean, and we but by the same token, we have to try to get out ahead by making a play. We've got to pressure McCarthy, put extra tacklers in the box, and win at the point of attack. And I don't know exactly what kind of communication goes and happens on defense, but in the secondary, I remember hearing all of you all, especially the guys in the blue and the red, you all were pretty on each other about the communication, especially after we lost a couple of games. We didn't hear anything else, that like I said, and the game that comes back to me is, like I said, we didn't play Michigan, but that Alabama game, I don't know what it was. I mean, it looked like we were going to blow them out. Somehow they came back, but they ended up putting you in a different assignment. I still remember, you're going against Walter Lewis, and Walter Lewis, you must have seen something, because they kept on trying to run the option. They had come out of running the option, Alabama, to go to the spread and go to the eye and go to the single back. But there was something that you may have seen that you saw Walter Lewis, a lot of other people don't know who it is. You know what I have to remember too, H? These young people don't even know who Michael Jordan is. They have no idea. That was 2 years ago in a class I was teaching. They did not know who Michael, and he's a sports enthusiast. They did not know who Michael Jordan was. So we don't feel bad at all. But these are the type of things when we start to take a look at it. I think the good news is if we force JJ McCarthy to run, they're in a lot of trouble. He only averages about 24 passes a game, which probably would have been good for, again, the times that we played. But if you can force him to throw 30 plus a game, that means the running game isn't going too well. And I think we have to be able to force him to throw, pack that box up, and look for the outstanding plays at the defensive end. That's what I will say from last week. Tar Burton, number 46, I think he had a tremendous game. 2 forced fumbles and 2 sacks and a fumble recovery. That's a dynamite game, considering he was taken out a lot.
That's a season for some folks. Heck yeah, that's a good game. Those are some good stats. But don't look at the stats. Don't always look at the stats. Coach Paterno used to say that.
Gotcha.
But that's
because there's things that will happen, and we spoke about it. We spoke about what happened in that Orange Bowl game. Where we had a guy in there that we had him in there all the time, and I won't say his name, but I will say he's from the same town as Saquon Barkley, and anybody who plays with us knows who that is. But good guy, But guess what? Ends up one-on-one with Keith Jackson, the best tight end in the nation. How do you end up on it, and what are we doing with the defense we call on third and
hold on,
and 22? Why do you call a safety blitz on 3rd and 22? Is that are you trying to put the game away, or is that just greedy?
Well, that some things are coaching mistakes, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
Right. Well, I remember Joe yelling that at one of the coaches, and he did yell, "Don't get greedy" one time, and yeah, and on one side, I want to say Lance got a sack, from the corner position. So Joe tells him, "Don't get greedy," and then they sent Duffy from the other side for a sack. I was like, "Ooh," that, and I know that you got to trust your eyes. You got to trust, and that's what I think Diaz does. That's the way he coaches. I hear all these other statistics on these other shows. You ought to see them, H. I think they must have nothing else to do with these statistics that they're trying to conjure up. You gotta have nothing. There's no way. That's why I got.
There's all that talk about algorithms now and everything, and getting scientific and whatnot, but it still comes down to. Well, hold on. I'm going to get in trouble again. Yeah, maybe we need to go to algorithms and everything, and maybe we need to go to two-hand touch. Never mind. Forget
no. How you going to get in trouble for that? Football is a hard-hitting game. That was going to be my next thing. This game, and here's what I hope in terms of officiating, that there is going to be some slack on how hard this game is going to be played. You can't throw every other player out of the game for what you think is a defenseless hit. I know that's an easy thing for me to say, but I still say Abdul Carter, a guy like that who hasn't played in the game, to me, it's still that rule needs to stay in play, but I think it needs to be taken a look at again, how we call it. And they're saying intentionality doesn't matter. How can intentionality not matter? I don't understand how intentionality in a rule doesn't matter at all. That just doesn't make sense to me.
A referee.
You want safer? You want to make the game safer? Let's play two-hand touch.
Right.
That's I'm not going to say anything about a tire and what should be worn on the field. I'm just going to say play two-hand touch. You want to make the game safer, or and I don't say this facetiously. I mean, let's turn it all the way back. I think, wasn't it in 1905 the president was going to ban football altogether because of death like that? Well, Hey, listen, history has a way of repeating itself. You want to make the game safer? Let's stop playing.
Well, but at least in that situation, they got rid of the flying wedge. Some things are common sense. Flying wedge, somebody was going to get killed. And then it went down from the flying wedge, and it took them another 100 years to take out the four horsemen, as we used to call it. But the thing about it is, now they're saying only two people can touch hands. So the question is, how long does it take for you to change a rule? Does it take every 10 years, or are we waiting for an incident to happen? Because there's no way, as long as you're wearing a helmet, shoulder pads, and there's hitting involved and there's violence involved in the game, there's no rule, as you said, that's going to change all of it, unless I think they've taken it out of it, because some people say great hit. Somebody sent me something today, that showed me what's the defensive back's name, Skip, for the Steelers, Ryan Clark, showed some of his hits that are illegal today, that didn't seem to be that bad. And that's the question, do you keep playing? Because the person who's on the other end can also be defenseless. If you're sitting here and you're 6'2" and you're 205 and you're tackling somebody that's nearly 300 pounds, and you've got to figure out how to get them down, that's a matter of safety on all ends. And I think that when we start to take a look at this game on Saturday, all that goes out the window. You're going to have to figure out how to get number 2, Corum, down. Blake Corum. How do you get him down? And if you are, and they used to say, put your head on the football. Putting your head on the football, if somebody ducks their head, can be almost be mistaken for helmet-to-helmet contact. But if you're a running back, you protect yourself and you duck your head. So I just hope that they let Michigan and Penn State play on Saturday, that it just does not come down to, and this is something that no one talked about. I don't know who the officiating crew is. I have to take a look at that and to see how that is. But anyway, like I said, I didn't want to get too far into what else that we have to look at for this game, because I think it's pretty simple. I think Skip, you mentioned it too. Is what are we looking for after this bye week? We should have fresh legs. H, you mentioned, use those defensive backs and put them as much of a disadvantage as possible. But we'll find out how good the coaches are also. Because if you have 7 defensive backs in a game, a guy that's coming out of the background on a flare, they should be able to cover him. Dude that's
right.
coming
Yep,
across.
exactly.
Dude just coming across the middle, you should be able to recover in some type of way. You might have a little problem with the tackle, but just get him down. So we'll see. And then with the offensive line, and I think coach playing 7 offensive linemen, I still think it's a good idea. When I go back and I showed you guys that West Virginia game, it wasn't the best game in the world, but a lot of us played a lot better than what we thought. I didn't know I even played that well in that game. Joe said you played pretty strong. You played pretty solid. And then when I watched it again, I saw why he said that. I was very fortunate not to give up a sack one time. Even my daughter told me, and she was laughing. She goes, "Daddy, what are you laying on the ground for? Or you're laying on a guy?" I said, "Because I wanted to make sure he didn't get up." And I said, "That might have been holding today." And she, what she says? And she says, "You know what?" And she's 28. She said, "You were down there for a second, but I wouldn't have called it."
That's cute. That's cute.
That's awesome.
It was. You were down. I would, because she played basketball with a different type of football mentality, leading the league and block shots in the region, and she almost got a triple-double with block shots one game, She had 8 points, 17 rebounds, and 12 blocks. So so when you start to take a look at it, if you were in a certain part of the shore down here, they would have called a foul on every single one. You can't block shots against certain people. That's just kind of how it goes. But it's going to be interesting how much they let both teams play, because I agree with her. There's not a whole lot we're going to call, and that's why we can't give the game to the referees. And Skip, how did we do on our picks last week?
Wow. Well, you guys did well. I gambled a little bit, but we were looking a little bit better. You guys only missed 2 of them. We all missed the Nebraska at Rutgers game.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, how can we do that? In fact, actually, it's making me go back and double check.
Didn't I clear my throat?
What's that?
I think I cleared my throat on that game.
Yes, you did.
Yeah,
you
who would
did.
have thought that Nebraska? I literally went back and double checked. Nebraska.
No. What he's saying is, I think he wasn't so sure. We picked
okay.
He went with me. He went with. This is what I think you're saying, H.
Yeah.
I think you went with me.
That's what I'm saying.
Kind of quietly, begrudgingly. I don't know if I said that correctly.
Well, that might be a strong word, which is why I say I cleared my throat.
Okay.
So, it was a little more subtle than that. I have to say.
Okay.
I would not have thought that Nebraska would beat Rutgers the way the season's gone. But we were all wrong, and that was kind of a surprise to me. We all got Michigan right at Indiana. We missed Purdue at Maryland. We picked Maryland at home. Purdue went in and beat them. I wouldn't have ever thought that happened, but we missed that one.
Yeah, Purdue. The thing you don't know, and this is what they said. This is how Howard Griffith was saying on and I forgot the linebacker's name from Ohio State that's on the Big Ten Network. But I played 5 years in the league for San Diego. That name was San Diego Chargers. But he told us before the game. Everybody watching, we really don't know what type of Purdue team we're going to get. And it's tough. It doesn't mean Purdue's not good, because they won one particular game and won it without their quarterback, and they set him and didn't want to set him, and they almost lose to a team who's nowhere near as good as them, even with a backup quarterback. But as H had mentioned, when you have their quarterback from Purdue, and if he's hot, your team is in trouble. And we were able to hold them off just enough. And I still say what we're seeing is, from my perspective, Skip, more and more as the season goes on, Purdue win becomes more of a quality win because of how they're coming through at times.
I agree with you there. We all both got Wisconsin over Northwestern. We had that. It wasn't hard. Ohio State, of course, is over Michigan State. That's a no-brainer. The next one I missed, it was a close game, 9-6. Illinois beat Iowa. And
yeah.
I didn't think that was going to happen, but a 3-point game. So I gambled that one. You guys got that right. So all in all, we are all tied at 41-15 so far for the year.
Whoa! I guess we can all clear our throats.
Yeah, well, I was up last week, but I lost that one. I gambled on the Iowa, but
then you can't clear your throats. Give you the Stephen A. Smith. You know what? You can't clear your throat, and let me tell you why. Well, yeah. I won't say anything else bad about the brother at all. But that's a bit much for me, but that's okay.
Well, some other bye weeks for a bunch of teams, and because we only have 5 games to pick here for the Big Ten here, week 7. So we start off here. We have Minnesota, Illinois.
Yeah, I think Minnesota comes back and wins a thriller. I think this is not going to be an easy game. I think Illinois, in my mind, and you can clear your throat if you guys want. In my mind, I want to say Minnesota comes back and wins this particular game. This is going to be a very difficult game. I don't know about a 9-6 game. I'm going to say like a 19-16 game.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one, Big D. I'm with you on Minnesota.
No, H, anything? Or you?
I go with the doctor. No throat clearing on that one.
Okay.
Well, this one will be interesting. We got Maryland at Indiana.
I think we're going to take Maryland. I gotta trust Maryland. I mean, at some point, Maryland has to play their best football game, and they just won't do it.
Yeah, I thought that. Now, this is going to be at Indiana, so they're going on the road. And it made me almost want to clear my throat a little bit, but I still think Maryland can try to put one out here in Indiana. But Indiana's been playing pretty good ball. So
Indiana's tough. Hey, they're tough at home.
Oh, they are. And that made me almost want to clear my throat a little bit. But I think you're right. I'm with you on Maryland, and I think we're across the board on that one. You cleared your throat on that one, H?
Oh yeah, I'm with doctor.
Okay,
I'm with the doctor.
All right. Well, this one I don't think is going to be hard to figure out, and it would be probably the upset of the year. Wisconsin at Michigan State.
Yeah, I'm going to say Wisconsin, of course, because Michigan State, it seems like you may be looking at a coaching change there. They just haven't. It just has, and it's a shame because the guy got the program, I thought, together. But there just seems to be, everybody seems to be so down as young people.
Yeah, but do you really think they're gonna fire him? He had a 10-year deal.
Is that what he had? Oh,
he had a 10-year deal. I mean, a huge buyout. So I think they made a huge commitment to him, and
okay. Well,
I don't know. I mean, it'd have to go. Somebody's going to become really upset, or maybe some administrators, some other people. Okay. H, please come.
Well, here's all I'm saying for sure.
I'm going.
The buyout dictates a lot. I mean, maybe not this year. He gets one faux pas. Now I'll leave it at that. And that's when I say, okay. And by the way, they lose on Saturday.
Oh yeah.
and I like the coach. Let me tell you something.
Oh yeah.
I think that's a solid coach.
Yeah.
Across the board, I'm a big fan of his. Yeah. And I just know how things can get. And one thing Nebraska said was, it was really interesting. Trev Albert said when they let go of Scott Frost, they said, well, isn't this going to cost you? And they said, there's a lot of money going into this decision that you're letting this guy go. And you know what he said? Well, fortunately, we have the resources to deal with this situation.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
Wow.
That's a heck of a statement.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's a HE double hockey sticks of a statement.
Yeah, that's well. It'll be
Yeah,
interesting. I wish the guy nothing but the best, but man, it has gotten ugly fast.
yeah, and I don't, and just so you know, I'm not wishing anything. I don't believe he should be. Let's just make sure people understand what I'm
Sure.
saying. I
Oh,
don't believe he should be fired. I just this year has made me look at. Pardon the expression, and maybe I can say this. This year has made me look at college football sort of crooked eye. I don't know if that makes any
I get
sense.
it. Or another way to say it is with a raised eyebrow.
Okay, I like that. I like that. And I ought to know better, somebody that, and I'm not saying anything's wrong, but just with a very skeptical eye, I look at college football a certain way. And no longer do we call these young people amateurs as much. You call them pre-professionals. I forgot what word you all came up with, and that's what it is. It's going to be pre-professionals when you include what type of work they do. Just like they had on who did they have on here today? Lydell Sargent. I don't know if you all remember him. He was
Yeah, I know Lydell. Yeah, he's with the Letterman. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's the president of the Letterman's Club. I missed that.
Yeah.
Well, what I saw is also he is played in the NFL, and he's also was an academic All-American. And this is a guy that he's at Morgan State, and he is the senior associate athletic director who runs all the operations for Morgan State that needs assistance. I've been there. Stan Clayton has coached there a couple of times, and you know what? It's been good, but there's where you have a school that doesn't have the resources. So I hope anything the NCAA does with NIL or whatever they're doing, I just hope that somebody like Lydell Sargent is going to be able to help them get on track with resources so these folks can win. So back to those games and keep me on track.
It's okay. It's tough because I know some meetings he hasn't been able to come to, and he's had to do it by Zoom. I think he's really torn with his duties there and what his duties really are back here as with the Letterman Club. So I know he's probably stretched, but hopefully, he'll be able to make it back here for the homecoming. We have a board meeting coming up, so hopefully he'll be there.
Yep. And by the way, that was the same show that I think it was Penn State. Gosh, I forgot what it's called. It's called Pay Dirt with Matt McGloin and another gentleman on there. Me and Matt McGloin. That's funny because we don't agree with all the stuff he talks about. And I don't know what kind of a fan he is of Coach. I haven't heard anything overwhelmingly positive. People continue to talk about Coach's buyout, which I don't think is fair.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't care for that type of talk.
Wow, I'm really surprised.
As my mother would say, and I have a lot of respect for Matt. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But that's something that I think we ought to just, that he's free to talk about. But I would say let's get through the season. He's 5-0, and obviously we don't talk about it. But it wasn't just him that brought it up. You just have to be careful what I like about our team is, and I'll be the same thing to the Grizz if he was on here, that we are just accountable individually, and we hold each other accountable on here in a very professional and mature way. I just say that whatever we're doing on all these other stations, let's do that for Penn State football.
Well, we've always been that way, but wow, that's all I say is wow.
Yeah. Well, those are the type of things that people talk about, but I think that's why we got the right person, because he realizes, when you wake up, your job is always on the line, but you feel better knowing that you can coach regardless of what kind of extension that you got. And it's a different game than when we all came around. I can call myself old, 57 years old. I have a different view of a person that's even 30. They don't know. Hey, they even took me age you think is bad. I'm not even on the 86 championship video games anymore. They don't even. And then I look on a roster. They don't even have me on the 86 roster. I'm like, I'm sitting up here with a ring, and I'm not on the roster. I'm like, how's that possible? And I'm like,
they scrub everybody off.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a tragedy. Actually, that's a That's huge. That's wrong. That's just wrong.
Yeah, right. But that's why I'm much more sensitive to it. But like I said, I think we're in good shape, though. I love this show, and thank you all for it. And what game are we on, Skip? I'm sorry.
We are on Nebraska at Purdue again. I don't think it's a hard one, but I think Purdue. You just talked about them earlier. I'm with Purdue on this one. I can't see Nebraska beat.
Okay. I think you're right. But let me tell you something. I can say Nebraska is playing for their interim coach, Mickey Joseph. I just don't think they're good enough to beat Purdue.
That's right.
Well, I think it'll be a solid football game. Purdue should win pretty comfortably, but I don't think we're talking about a blowout here.
No. They're both playing their best, but I think you said it well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And of course, now we're left to our game, and I will say that this game here is going to be decided between the Jakes.
Between who?
Between the two Jakes.
The two Jakes.
There's two Jakes. We got
Okay.
We have Jake Pinniger and we have Jake Moody.
I agree. I think it's going to be an overtime game. It's going to be a classic football game.
Okay.
I called this one. I forgot what year it was, Skip. I want to say it might have been, when did we beat them 43-40? I think I said 39-36 last time.
Well,
I think this game.
There, weren't we? I think we were there that game.
Because of, what's that?
We were there that game.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, and that's where I first took my son-in-law to the game. He had never been to a college.
I remember that. Yeah.
But we were all dancing with a "We Are Penn State," and I think we're going to finish with a "We Are Penn State," and it's going to be shocking. And they're going to be carrying Pinniger off the field.
Wow. Okay. I know it's gonna be between the Jakes, but we'll get that. What's your score?
Well, because of overtime, I will say regulation. It'll be 23-23. I am going to say 33-30. State.
Wow. Okay. What's your prediction, H?
The overtime.
Oh, he cleared his throat. He cleared his throat.
The overtime statement had me adjust from 28-24 to 27-24.
Wow.
So I'm 27-24, and of course I'm going with none other than Penn State. Prize.
Okay. 27-24.
Well, I guess you guys are leaving that up to me now. I do agree it's going to come down to the Jakes, and I appreciate your thoughts there on the overtime, and I have to say between the two kickers, Jake Moody, I believe, is more consistent. I think he's a stronger leg, and that's why I think. I'm sorry, H. What was your score again?
27-24. It was going to be 24. I was going to be 28-24 or even 28-21, but that overtime statement that I think both of you made, or you commented on, like it might happen. Well, yeah, you're saying it's coming down to the Jakes. Anyway, 27-24.
Okay, I appreciate it. No, and I actually just adjusted. Folks, if you're watching on the lionslive.com website, I'm actually entering these in live real time, so you'll see the predictions. So that's why I wanted to check back here with H on his prediction. Yeah, and again, I'm saying it is the Jake, and I think because Jake Moody is going to have the leg that's a little bit better than Pinniger's, I have Michigan 31, Penn State 28.
Okay.
Heartbreaking loss. I hate it. I just, this is going to be the real test. But I'll tell you what, Penn State pulls this game out. Wow, we have a lot to be thankful for, because that'll be serious momentum.
Penn State's going to win. That's the end of the story. That's the end of it.
Exactly.
I'm going to say my goodbye, and I'm going to sign off now.
Come
well,
on.
I don't want to tell on any of the other, but we're not the only ones where this type of thing has happened. Some people had a nerve to say this on some of the TV shows that they've had, and they've had a nerve to say it on the podcast, and even the one podcast in Philly, and somebody had Penn State losing by 10, I think.
Oh, no,
So,
yeah, no, it's gonna be a close game. I think the Jake Moody is a better place kicker, and I think here's the only advantage I see I'm just looking as objectively as I can. It's at Michigan. They're at the Big House. It's going to be a hard place to play. I think the quarterback at Michigan has an advantage over us. And
and I don't,
the factors and things that I'm putting into this, I want Penn State to win. I hope we do.
right, I'm not being critical. I guess I'm trying to figure out, when you say advantage over us, I think I was with you until then. I understand the kicker may have to pull the game out, but my question is, what advantage does J.J. McCarthy, who has not been hit all year, who has not faced a defense like ours all year, what advantage does he have on Penn State other than his statistics? Because if we start to take a look at who he's been hit by, does he have the advantage because of the offensive line, or just because he's better than Sean Clifford? Because you could say he's better than Sean Clifford,
and I would.
But guess what though? The difference is Clifford has been challenged. Clifford will never look good on paper. But guess what? He has been challenged and he has come through. McCarthy has not been challenged and he has not come through.
I would agree.
That's why I think the difference is.
But I think the difference is the accuracy of passing. And if, now, don't get me wrong, like I said, if Penn State can get on him, which we talked about at the beginning, totally different. It'll change the game. If they disguise coverage as well, they will. I think they will prevail. I don't know if that's going to happen. This will be the real test, and that's why I said it comes down to the Jakes. I'm just giving that advantage of them being at their
And listen, I know it, and I respect it. What they say, I respect your call, as my daughter said one time to one official. You know what she said to an official? It was funny because that's how I could tell she was growing up, and she was 16 and she was a senior in high school. 16, she was a year ahead in school, and the official looked like, she got up and playing against this team from DC. The girl from DC got up and shoved her, and she shoved her back, and they got into a little thing, and the referee says to her, he said, "Number 25, you better watch it, or I'm going to bang you with one." She said, "Really, sir?" She said, "I thought that was the type of game you were officiating." He said, "What did you say?" He said, I thought that was the type of game you were officiating." What could he say? Now, Skip, I thought that was the type of game you were officiating.
There you
go. That's where my thing is, if they win, I don't think it's going to be because of McCarthy. Because McCarthy they'll be very lucky that we don't see McNamara, who really is not a backup, and who really is probably more athletic, and actually I think is tougher than McCarthy. To tell you the truth, I hope McCarthy makes it through the game.
I hope that's the case, and that's why I said it came down to Jakes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Let's hope for a Penn State win. I look forward to you guys being one up on me in the picks next week.
All right. Well, listen, I'm glad. Hey, listen, this is fun. Like I said, but the fun part about it is the unknown. We have to ask ourselves, there is nobody on here, I don't think, that knew we were going to be 5-0. That thought so. I thought 4-1. And I can't remember. But
I'm with you. I'm with
5-0. What's that?
I'm with you. You're right. You're spot on. It has been. Look at our picks this year compared to last, with the different teams in the Big Ten.
Right. And all of a sudden, I can't say the Big Ten's not that great anymore, because now everybody is playing to their potential.
Yeah.
And that's why that Nebraska game made sense. And I feel bad for Rutgers. Rutgers, their coach better watch it also.
I'd like to say that the Nebraska game made sense like last week. I still can't do that with Rutgers.
Right.
I just think Rutgers is a better
tough one. I'm a Jersey guy, and my daughter, that's where she got her bachelor's from.
I still can't believe they lost that. That blew me away last week.
Yeah, well, like I said, give Mickey Joseph some credit. He was a quarterback for Nebraska, before Tommy Frazier and all those other people. But now, like I said, we have all these other folks that are all ready to go. And that's where I'm at. So I think we just about finished our hour.
Yeah,
I think we
great
did
work.
pretty good,
You guys, I appreciate it all. Appreciate you all muchly, and H, trust you're safe in your travels here this week, and hopefully your brothers continue to get on, getting on the on the mending path there. I know.
Praise God.
Yeah, I hope he's continuing down that path, buddy. So appreciate you both muchly. You guys always do great work, and it's been a lot of fun. And H, any parting comments for us? We wind it up. I think he's upset. All right, H, you dropped the mic. Well, I appreciate you, buddy, and trust your travels are safe. And
H I don't even know if he can even hear us.
oh, he's there. I see him. I see his phone. He's on. But I think he's angered at me for just. I'm just going with my gut, but I hope it's wrong. Hey, nonetheless, I appreciate you a lot, and I look forward to catching you here as the game. Catching you during the game. Hopefully, catch some messages back and forth, and trust your week winds up well here. Lord willing, we'll see you here next week, buddy.
All right, and I say, let's go O-line, let's go D-line. Let's tell our grandkids about this game.
Well, let's go special teams. Let's go special teams, because I think this is going to be a game that's be determined by them, and may the better the Jakes come out here, but it may be the side of Penn State that wins.
Here's to you for number 92.
And there you go. Awesome. All right. Well, on behalf of the H, Dr. Big D, my name's Skip Ross. Thanks for joining us for Lions Live. Folks will catch us next week. Let's look forward to Penn State being here.
All right. Let's get them, fellas.
Thanks. See ya. Take care.
We'll be good.
Bye.
Take care.